longing to be loved, appreciated, needed, understood, and affirmed. Find love, walk love, live love. Beyond imagination.
Diet. Diet is a fixed plan of eating and drinking where the type and the amount of food are planned out in order to achieve weight loss or weight gain. The Bible says in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter number 10, verse number 31, whether you eat or drink, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Now, somebody once said that we think of God when we are in pain and sickness, and we think of ourselves when we are in health and fitness. So that may as well mean that we surrender ourselves or our bodies to God when our bodies are sick, when our bodies are unable. We actually approach God as a healer. Now, I think somehow, if this is true, then we need to reconsider certain things in our lives as human beings. Otherwise, it may actually look like we actually use God, and when we are fine, we actually continue with our own programs. Now, we all are battling over weight challenges. But you see, weight can be on the basis of our genes or our metabolism. Now, the research or the definition of a gene is that it's a basic unit of heredity and a sequence of nucleotides in DNA or RNA that encode the synthesis of gene products. Now, in other words, it can actually tell where you come from on the results of how you look or how things are actually going in your life. And now, because this system is in the blood, it may actually be something that comes in the family. Weight can be something that comes from your people, your family, connections. Now, metabolism is on the other side. It's, as I've indicated, it is the process where your body converts what you've eaten and what you've drank and into energy. Now, you need to actually understand that how we eat as well can be a factor that actually sees us in weight gain. Now, there's something as well that I've just put together, 7 factors that actually may aggravate, weight gain. The first one is emotional eating. Emotional eating happens when people use, when they are in crisis or anxiety or loneliness, they actually tend to eat a lot. They eat unconsciously, and that may actually affect their weight. And the other factor is lack of exercise. I've actually said this a number of times in my teachings. But you see, lack of exercise has actually proven that we can actually burn a certain amount of calories in order to stay healthy. But you see, research also indicates that there's a recommended calories that can be consumed by men and women. Women are actually recommended to can consume up to 2,000 calories, and men can go up to 2,500. And the dynamic here is that women are looked at as people with bigger bodies, while men are actually looked at as people with thinner bodies. And the thing is, with bigger bodies, it may actually mean more fats, less muscles. And then thinner bodies may actually mean more muscles and thinner fats. So in that way, metabolism depends on the muscles that we actually have. In other words, when we are thinner, we are actually able to actually convert quite quicker, quite easily, but unlike when we are actually bigger. So now that is why when it's actually put under a rate of an hour, men and women are actually burning different calories within that unit of an hour. It is actually said that women can burn up to 450 calories, while men can go up to 700 calories. So exercise is going to really benefit us into making ourselves, achieve a reasonable weight that can make our lives go much longer ahead. The next one that I've actually put together is technology. These days, everything else it's on the touch of a screen, and that limits our chances of being physical. So we need to actually be careful that we don't spend much time either on our laptops or on our computers or on our phones or on anything that may actually subject us to one space. So it is important that at one point you need to just actually, take a walk, stretch yourself, do certain things. Don't ask someone to bring it closer to you. Go get it on your own. That will be a payoff for the time that you spend seated in one place. Now, the other factor, which is factor number 4, is family members. Family members can as well contribute into creating an environment where one of the family members or either part of the family members have a problem with weight, and when it's decided on a diet that has to be followed in a family, it needs a support from everyone else. But if you find that some members are saying this and the others are saying that, some want to eat that and others are actually going into that, maybe a temptation for the other to eat what is not supposed to be eaten. So that is the challenge that family members may actually have. Now, the fifth one that I've actually also thought would be very necessary is stress. Excessive stress, it said, messes up with our cortisol level and appetite hormones, and it may actually run into one having food addiction. And therefore we need to actually be careful of having situations where we cannot be able to deal with. And a sign of high levels of cortisol, it is said, it's actually, you'll actually notice when you've got maybe purple or bluish kind of veins running on your body. So that can as well be an indication that you need to actually be careful of exactly those high levels, because they actually make the body function in a way that you will not really be smiling in your life. Now, the other thing that I need to also indicate is the way we eat. We actually tend to eat fatty stuff, sweety stuff, processed food items, artificial food items, and all these other things. And these things are presented to us, and we actually find them very interesting to actually can buy it, but they actually don't do us any good. We actually tend to say that we're spoiling ourselves, we're working very hard, it's time to spoil ourselves, but these things are not exactly doing a good job in our bodies. Now, the last one that I've actually put together is the genetically modified organisms, which happens when you actually go into grocery stores these days. You'll realize that in the fridges where you get chickens, you may not be surprised to come up with a chicken drumstick that is as big as a basketball baton. So you actually need to really be very careful of things like that. You can tell that they are no longer organic. Now, one of the reasons that they actually also say is that food companies are so talented that they actually make food so attractive that we cannot resist them. It is said that they hire very talented, food chemists, psychologists. They actually go get marketers who can make food look very attractive. and we cannot even resist that kind of the look of the food. So those are the things that we need to really be very careful. Now, in order for us to achieve weight loss, it is recommended that we need to have at least a smaller scale gardens in our yards and actually have vegetables in there. We can as well, consider, looking at fruits. We can actually now trim down on the meat. We don't go for red meat, we rather go for white meat. And then we also need to find ourselves those who actually eat pap. We need to actually go for yellow pap instead of white pap or brown pap. Yes, it can actually be that sequence, yellow, brown, white, but it has to be rotated. Now we need to actually always find a better way to find us, moving, into the path of healthy, living. The other thing that I really need to say is the beverages, the drinks that we have. We actually spend most of the time, especially the elders, prefer to have coffee every evening or tea every evening. You can have tea or coffee with less or no sugar, or you can always tend to, still water, or, things that will always be normal to actually take. So now I need to also indicate that in the book of Romans chapter number 12, verse number 1, the Bible says, therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in the mercy of God, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. You see, it is important that we also have to actually sacrifice. There are three things that I've actually noted: sacrifice, holy, and pleasing. And when you sacrifice something, it's when you actually, give up something that has value. And when we talk about holy, we're talking about the Hebrew word Gadesh, which means to set apart. So we need to actually reserve the best for the Lord still. And pleasing, it means we need to actually still find it, making God happy and satisfied, that we are also considering to serve in God's work while we are still fit, while we are still healthy. And remember, God is able to do beyond imagination.
Needed, understood, and affirmed. Find love, walk love, live love. Beyond imagination.